Welcome back, dear friends, to your daily dose of ancient wisdom. Today we continue our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana, Tritiya Skandha or Book 3, Discourse 21, which talks about Sage Kardama practicing austere penance and the Lord conferring a boon onto him. Vidura said, "The line of Swayambhuva Manu was the one most esteemed by all. Pray give me, O worshipful sage, an account of that race, the pregnancy of which multiplied through sexual union. You have already told us that the two sons of Swayambhuva, Priyavrata and Uttanapada, piously ruled over the entire globe with 7 divisions or dvipas as they are called. His daughter, known by the name of Devahuti, O holy Brahmana, have been spoken of by you as the spouse of Sage Kardama, a lord of created beings, O sinless one. How many issues did the great yogi beget through that princess, who was endowed with 8 limbs of yoga, such as the 5 yamas and so on? Pray tell me all this, keen as I am to hear it. Similarly, O holy sage, tell me how the worshipful Ruchi, another lord of created beings, and Daksha, a son of Brahma, and also a lord of created beings, procreated children after securing as their wives the other 2 daughters of Swayambhuva Manu, Akuti and Prasuti respectively. Maitreya replied, "Commanded by Brahma in the words, 'beget children,' the worshipful Kardama practiced penance on the banks of river Saraswati for a period of 10,000 years. During that penance, the sage Kardama devoutly waited upon Srihari, the bestower of blessings, on those who flee to him to protection through various modes of worship accompanied by deep meditation. Pleased with the austerities, O Vidura, the lotus-eyed Lord showed himself to him at the beginning of Satya Yuga in a form consisting of his own divine essence, which is ordinarily known only through the divine word, the Vedas. Kardama beheld the Lord in his purely divine form, effulgent like a sun, wearing a garland of white lotuses and water lilies and clad in spotless yellow silk, his lotus face fringed with sleek dark locks of curly hair. Adorned with a crown and earrings, he held his characteristic conch, discus, which is Sudarshana, and mace in his 3 hands, and while a white lily to play on in his 4th. His smiling look captivated the heart. Having set his lotus feet on the shoulders of Garuda, he stood in the air with a golden streak or a symbol of goddess Lakshmi on his breast and the famous Kaustubha gem suspended from his neck. Having realized the ambition of his life and full of joy, the sage fell prostrate with his head touching the ground and rising, began to extol the Lord in the following words, with a mind naturally full of love and his palms joined in prayer. The sage said, "Ah, the fruit of our eyes has been fully attained today by beholding you, the repository of all goodness, whose sight, O praiseworthy Lord, is coveted even by yogis established in yoga or deep meditation, after going through higher and still higher births. Your lotus feet are a veritable vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane existence. Only they who have been deprived of their senses by your Maya or deluding potency worship those feet with a view of attaining the trivial and monetary pleasures of sense that can be had even in hell. You, however, O Lord, bestow on them such pleasures of senses too. You are a wish-yielding tree, while my heart is impure, tainted by carnality. Therefore, desirous of marrying a girl of like disposition, that may prove a veritable cow of plenty yield all the 3 objects of human pursuit in my married life, I too have likewise sought the shelter of your feet, which are the source of all blessing." Constantly smitten by desire, this world, O Lord of universe, is bound like a beast by the cord of the word Veda uttered by you, the Lord of created beings. Following the ways of the world, I too, O embodiment of an alloyed virtue, bear offerings in the shape of dutiful obeisance to you, who appear as time. Turning their back on worldly minded men as well as on the human beasts like me who follow them, your devotees seek the protection of your feet that afford shelter like an umbrella against the sun of metempsychosis and meet the requirements of the body in the shape of hunger, thirst, and so on by drinking the inebriating nectar of your praises uttered before one another. Your wheel in the shape of time, which has three navels in the shape of three divisions of the year, consisting of 4 months each, rotates round the axle of imperishable Brahma. It has 13 spokes representing the 13 months, including the additional month intercalculated every third year. 360 joints corresponding to the same number of days comprised in an year, 6 rims in the shape of 6 seasons, and the numberless leaves in the shape of the moments carved on it. Though cutting short the span of life of the entire creation by its revolution, this wheel of tremendous velocity cannot touch the lifespan of these your devotees. O Lord, though one without a second, you assume in yourself the Yogamaya, your wonderful creative energy, which is no other than you, with a view of creating the universe, and with the help of the potencies like Sattva emanating from the said Yogamaya, bring forth and preserve, and will then reabsorb the universe into yourself, even as the spider spins a cobweb, maintains it, and then swallows it up. Although we know it is not liked by you, O Supreme Lord, that you should provide us, your devotees, by the dint of your Maya deluding potency, with the pleasures of senses, let them come to us for our ultimate good, final beatitude, when you have appeared before us in the form adorned with splendid wreath of tulasi or basil leaves, a form which looks finite through Maya. Although by virtue of your self-realization you have ever ignored the consequence of your activity, you have conducted the affairs of the world by your own Maya or sportive will, and showered the desired blessings even on those who adore you with some interested motive. I repeatedly bow to you, whose lotus feet are worthy of reverence to all. Maitreya resumed. Sincerely extolled in the aforesaid words, Lord Vishnu, whose navel is distinguished by a lotus, and who shone on the shoulders of Garuda, replied in essence sweet as nectar, his eyebrows gracefully moving as he regarded the sage with a smile full of affection. The Lord said, having come to know what was in your mind, I have already arranged that for which you have worshipped me well through discipline of mind and senses. Worship offered to me by those who have solely fixed their mind on me, particularly by people like you, O Lord of created beings, can never go in vain. You know Emperor Swayambhuva Manu, son of Brahma, who is celebrated for his righteous act, rules over the earth bound by 7 oceans, having its seat in Brahmavrata, accompanied by his spouse, Queen Satarupa, the royal sage who knows the secret of dharma or right conduct, will come to see you. O holy Brahmana, the day after tomorrow, and give away his dark-eyed daughter who has attained the marriageable age, and is possessed of noble character and commendable virtues, and is on the lookout for a match to you, who are in every way worthy to her, O Lord of created beings. Being just the type of which you have set your heart all these long years, that princess, O holy sage, will soon be yours, and will serve to you your heart's content. She will bring forth 9 daughters out of the seed sown in her by you, and through the daughter sprung from your lion, sages Marichi, will duly beget children. And with your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, and having resigned to me the fruit of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Showing compassion to living beings in your married life, you will attain self realization, and giving assurance of safety to all as a recluse, you will perceive your own self as well as the universe identified in me and myself in you. Manifesting a part of my divine being through your wife Devahuti, along with your 9 daughters, O great sage, I shall instruct her in the system of philosophy known by the name of Sankhya, that deals with the ultimate principles of categories such as Prakriti, Purusha, Ishvara, and so on. Maitreya went on. Having thus spoken to him, the sage Kardama, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are turned inwards, departed for his own abode Vaikuntha from his hermitage on the strand of the lake of Bindusarovara, which was encircled by the river Saraswati. While the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the path leading to Vaikuntha, a path which is extolled by all great Siddhas, listening to the hymns forming the basis of Samaveda and uttered by the wings of Garuda, the Lord of Feathered Kingdom. Footnote: the territorial limits of Brahmavrata or the modern Kurukshetra have been specified as the tract lying between the two heavenly rivers Saraswati and Drasadvati, and owing its existence to the gods is called Brahmavrata. Also, the Shruti says Brahad and Ratantara, the two metrical divisions of Samaveda from the two wings of Garuda, and it is mentioned at more than one places in Bhagavata itself that the hymns of Samaveda proceed from the wings of Garuda whenever he takes flight. Entering the most sacred spot with his daughter Devahuti and going near the sage, the first monarch Swayambhuva Manu saw him sitting there in his hermitage, having propitiated the sacred fire by pouring oblations into it. He shone most brilliant with his body, which, though engaged in austere penance for a long time, was not much emaciated because the Lord has cast his affectionate glance at him, and he had also quaffed with his ears the nectar flowing from the moon-like words of the Lord. The sage was of high stature and had eyes big as petals of lotuses, wore matted locks on his head, and clad in rags and looked untidy like an unpolished gem. Seeing the monarch come to his hermitage and bowing before him, the sage greeted him with benedictions and received him with due honor. When the king had sat down calm and collected after receiving the sage's attention, the latter, who recalled the instructions of the Lord, spoke to him as follows, delighting him with his soft accents. The tour undertaken by you, O Lord, is surely intended to protect the virtuous and kill the wicked, embodying as you do the protecting of energy of Srihari. It is you who assumes the form of sun god, the moon god, the god of fire, Indra, the lord of paradise, the wind god, the Yama, or the god of punishment, Dharma, the god of pity, and Varuna, the god presiding over water, as and when necessary. Hail to you, who are no other than Lord Vishnu. If you do not go about the world like the sun in your beveled chariot that ever leads you to victory, twanging your fierce bow, inspiring terror in the heart of the wicked by the presence of your very chariot, taking a huge army behind you, and shaking the terrestrial globe by the tread of your hosts, all moral laws governing the various varnas or grades of societies, and ashramas or stages in life, and made by the Lord Himself, O King, will be broken that very moment by the impious men, which will be a deplorable state of things. Nay, unrighteousness will flourish on account of grasping and unruly men. If you give up all thought of the world, it will fall into the clutches of impious men and perish. Nevertheless, I ask you, O valiant king, the purpose for which you have come here. With a glad heart we shall meet your wishes. Thus ends the 21st discourse in Book 3 of the great and glorious Bhagavata Purana, otherwise known as Paramahamsa Samhita. Thank you.